What's up, everybody? Console release is here for Delta Force, and I want to give you some tips and tricks that are going to help you out in this game. So let's get started with this first tip. Don't die. Yeah, no, I understand what I just said and how easy I made it sound, but it is a very obvious thing. But outside of the obvious reason of just staying alive and why that is so important, it's because you're going to be able to give intel to your teammates, and that is just absolutely crucial for winning gunfights with your squad. But on top of that, the enemy team is also going to have to be a lot more careful. They're going to have to waste more util. It's just beneficial if you are alive, even if you don't feel like you're adding anything to the gunfight. Just merely being alive is going to cause trouble for the enemy team. So do your best to try to stay alive. And I know how that sounds, but I'm going to give you some tips as well to help you stay alive. So let's move on to that. So for the next tip, sound cues. Sound cues are everything in this game. The footsteps, the util noises, the gunshots, the door opening and closing. Everything is going to alert you to where other players are. And that is key for when to fight, when to push a fight, when not to push a fight. And it basically directs a lot of the gameplay as to what areas are safe and what areas are not safe. So the things you want to be looking for are footsteps for number one for when the enemy is close. The common question is, how can I tell if they're bots? How can I tell if they're enemy operators? I get mixed up on this all the time, but the key things are jumping and mantling are the two main things. Bots do not do that. The other thing too is if you're struggling with trying to figure out if it's bots or operators, whatever area you're in, you can eliminate all the bots. But there is a caveat to this. If you eliminate all the bots, sometimes the bots do give away other enemy players. So if you get rid of all the bots, they're not going to shoot at the enemy players and alert you to when they're near or when they're far. So you can choose whether or not you want to try to listen for the footsteps or try to listen for enemy bot gunfire. You'll get better at this as the more and more that you play the game, but it is a little difficult when you're first starting. So my tip is honestly just to keep playing, listen out for gunshots, decide whether or not you want to push or if you just want to avoid that area. The other thing too is that each bit of environment gives a different footstep sound. So if you're stepping on wood, that's a different sound. If you're stepping on concrete, that's a different sound. It seems like that's a very obvious thing, but when you're in the moment and you're playing, you're not really realizing it. But as you're playing and you're stepping on these things, take a mental note as to where those areas are. If you hear an enemy player step on those areas, you know automatically where they are on the map. And that's what a lot of experienced players do. And you're just like, oh, how did they know where I was? Well, that's how they knew, because you stepped on that piece of wood, you stepped on that piece of glass, you stepped on that grass. Those are dead giveaways and cues that'll help you win gunfights. All right, so for the next tip, right side peeker's advantage. So in this game, you have more of an advantage when you're peeking from the right side than compared to the left side. When you peek from the right side, less of your body is showing than if you peek from the left side. So anytime you get in a gunfight where you can take cover from the right side and peek out there is more advantageous than if you were to try to do it from the left side, because of how this game has you holding your gun. You're going to be a smaller target from the right side than if you're on the left side. And to go hand in hand with this, the game also has you shooting your gun from your head. Some first-person shooters have you shooting from the chest, but this one has you shooting from your head. So if you're shooting and you see that scope dot, you're shooting directly from that scope dot. So if you have cover in front of you, but you can still see that little bit of your scope covering over the top, you're going to shoot directly over that barrier. Okay, so for my next tip, I'm going to show you the exchange system in this game that I use to save thousands and thousands of Technic alloy or money, whatever you want to call it. So first, though, I'm going to show you where we're buying from. So we're going to be buying it from the supply station. If I want to get some armor here, go to ballistic vests. The Mark II vest is right here. And these are the items that you can exchange for it. I don't have any of them, so I would have to buy them. But the restock for it is 21 hours and 47. So the more than an item costs, the longer the restock is going to be on that item. And some items it's worth it, some items it's not. This is definitely one of the ones that it's useful for. If you find one that it's not useful for, obviously don't use this method, but a lot of these items work for me. So for this, let's go back to the auction house and see how much it costs. So here it is 198,566. Now, if I want to exchange for it, there are two options. One for the trades, the T&E lab intel, That's going to be cheaper, but you can only use that once or twice every 6 days, depending if you can catch it in time. But this is the one we're looking for right here. This is the one from the supply station. And it's 18% cheaper than if we were to buy it at the auction house. This will oftentimes fluctuate depending on the time of day, if it's on the weekend, weekday, what have you. But you can only use this one, once every 24 hours. What I use it more for are meds. So let's go take a look at those. Go down here to consumables. This is the one I frequently use, exchange. It's 27% cheaper if I were to use it here than if I bought it at the auction house here. Now, if you want to know how many you have left, if you want to use that, all you have to do is go back to the supply station, go to the med bay. You can see I have a purchase limit of 9. So I can use that 9 times this 5-hour and 45-minute period for right now. I'm not exactly sure the time frame on it, but I have yet to run out of using these. A lot of times you can also find them off players or bots or when you're looting. Okay, so let me show you the other place where you can do this same exchange system. You don't necessarily have to do it from those screens that I was showing you earlier. Go prepare, we'll go to easy, and let's go take a look at that vest again. Scroll down here, find the Mark II, there it is. Exchange will pop up. And again, we have those 2 options. A lot of times I'll only have that one because I've used up that option, but there you have it. There's that. Okay, and for my last and final tip, and this could quite possibly be the most important tip, is loot priority. Whoever gets the kill has the loot priority of that box. You don't touch that box, you don't look at that box, because that box belongs to the player that got the kill. Do not be that toxic loot goblin that runs up and grabs every box that's been down to try to loot it quick before the other players can get to it. It's not right. That's not how this game is played. You will run into people who do it, and if it happens to you, you're never going to want to do it again. But do not loot that box unless you got that kill. If you got that kill, that box is yours. If you do not, you wait patiently. You ask, hey, are you done with that box? And then you can loot and take whatever they want. Typically, what players will do is when they're done, they'll empty that box out. So it's a quick search. You can just grab the stuff, but do not loot that box unless you earned that box. All right, so those are my top tips and tricks for Delta Force. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that like button. If you really like what you saw, be sure to sub to the channel. If I missed something, make sure to drop a comment down below. Let me know what I missed. Maybe I can do a follow-up video of everything that I missed. Again, I really hope you guys like this, and I will catch you in the next one. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.